Hey everybody. Yesterday we learned that plants are made up of air and water. Those are two things that plants need. Today we're going to talk more about what plants need, and we're going to start with the leaves of the plant. Okay, just like we have organs, our heart, our lungs, our brain, we've talked about that. Plants have organs. Their leaves, their stems, their flowers are different organs of their body, so to speak. And so we're going to start focusing on leaves today. This is Plants Day 2. If you look at the first page of the textbook that I've copied for you here, it says, "You are there. You are in a laboratory using a microscope to study plant cells. As you peer through the lenses of the high-powered microscope, you see many different kinds of cells. Some are square, some are long and narrow. You ask yourself, how do these cells help the rest of the plant stay alive?" Well, that is kind of interesting to think about. How do cells keep the plant alive? We're going to find out how the plant does keep alive on its own. And we've talked before about how plants can make their own energy. And so we're going to be talking about today some more. If you look on the next page, you can see a picture at the top. And it shows you, like, if you cut the cross section of a leaf, what that would look like if you magnified it. And what I think you're going to find, which is kind of interesting, is that plants and our skin have a lot in common when we talk about leaves and skin. So what I want you to do is look for, how do plants get help from the leaves, and also what are the different parts of the leaves and what do they do. When you finish the reading today, you're going to have to look at 4 different parts of the leaves and what their functions are. Now, when I say function, I mean job. So what is the job of that? So if I said, what's the function of your heart? The function is to pump blood. So you're going to be looking for, what is the function of the 4 different things at the top of this page: the vessel tissue, the leaf openings or the pores, the spongy tissue, and the epidermis tissue. Those are things that you're going to have to tell me what their jobs are. So we're going to focus on this page first. How do leaves help a plant? And it says, leaves are made of cells and tissues. The process of photosynthesis takes place in the cell's chloroplasts. So first of all, we talk about the word photosynthesis. It's a word that you probably know parts of the word. So photo means light. So if you're taking a picture, you take a photograph, you need that light to make your picture. If you talk about synthesis means to make. So with photosynthesis, we're making things with light. So stay tuned to find out how that happens. All right, so if we go under the cells and tissue in leaves category there, it says, what's your favorite green salad? You might like one made of spinach. Perhaps you choose iceberg lettuce or crispy romaine. When you munch on any of these, you're eating leaves. A leaf is a major plant part. Unlike animals, plants make their own food. Most of a plant's food is made of its leaves. Leaves are organs made of cells and tissues. The diagram above shows the layers of a leaf. You can see layers of similar cells. These are the tissues that make up the leaf. The outside layer of flat cells is the epidermis. In some ways, the tissue is similar to the top layer of your skin. It helps protect the plant. The inner tissue looks like a sponge. It has spaces that air can pass through. Tiny openings at the bottom of the leaf can let air out and in of the inner tissue. And if you look at the top picture, you can see where it says leaf opening. They also call tiny openings pores. So just so you know, think about the pores on your skin. They let sweat in and out of your body. Obviously, they let it out of your body. They don't let it in your body. That would be weird. So anyway, pores, just like on leaves, are kind of like pores on your skin. In the last paragraph, it says the vessel tissue is also made of cells. Look closely at the diagram. Do you see the tubes? So we're talking about the little yellow tubes. In some way, these tubes are like our blood vessels. They carry food and water through the plant to all the other plant parts. So again, if you look at that leaf, you see the yellow, and that's kind of like, those tubes are kind of like the blood vessels that carry the blood through our body. Those vessels carry important things through the leaf that the plant needs. Okay, you have the openings where things can get in and out, like your pores. You have the top layer, the epidermis, which is actually the name of the top layer of your skin, by the way, so that's kind of interesting. And then you have tissue in between, just like your skin. So it's kind of weird that your skin has a lot in common with a leaf. All right, if we go to the next page, we're really going to focus on what photosynthesis is. Like I said, photo means light, synthesis means to make, so we're making something with light here. I want you to focus on, why is photosynthesis important for the plant? What things are needed for photosynthesis, and why is photosynthesis important to you as a human, as an animal, or other animals? Those are some things you're going to have to answer when you're done reading this section. So let me get started. It says, you have probably heard that in order for plants to live, their cells need energy from sunlight. That is true, but you may wonder how this happens. How does a plant use energy from sunlight? How can any of the cells do work at night without sunlight? How do the cells in the roots live without ever getting sunlight? Have you ever thought about that? Like, what happens when it's dark and when they're not getting sunlight? Plants need sun to live. How does that work? Okay, it says you can answer these questions if you know that plant cells use cellular respiration, just like our cells. That is, they use oxygen with food to get the energy they need for growth, repair, and reproduction. So we've got the highlighted word photosynthesis there. It says photosynthesis is the process that plants and some other organisms use to make sugar for food. So what's the process to do? Making sugar for food. Okay? Photosynthesis happens in the chloroplast of plant cells. Remember that chloroplast in plant cells, but not in animal cells. In photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water are used to make sugar and oxygen. Plants are a major source of oxygen in the atmosphere. Sunlight supplies the energy needed for photosynthesis. This process is often written as. So let's look at the bold words in the middle of the page. First of all, for photosynthesis, you need carbon dioxide. Okay, that is the stuff that makes the gas bubbles in our soda, or when we did the Alka-Seltzer tablet in the water earlier this year, that's carbon dioxide. There's nothing wrong with carbon dioxide. It's perfectly safe. Some people get that mixed up with carbon monoxide, which is very dangerous. We're talking about carbon dioxide. Okay, the next thing that a plant needs for photosynthesis is water. Of course, plants are going to get that from rain or from other forms of precipitation. And then the other thing that plants need for photosynthesis is sunlight energy. So you have to have sun for plants. Okay, and when you put carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight energy together, you have the process of photosynthesis. And that arrow shows you that those three things together make oxygen and sugar. So we talked other times about how oxygen is what animals need to breathe. And we've talked that plants make their own food. Well, this is how plants make their own food. Through photosynthesis, they make sugar, and sugar is their food. It's not exactly like the sugar you buy in a bag at the grocery store, but it is sugar that helps them to basically eat, I guess you can say. If you go to the paragraph below that, it says the sugar is moved to all cells of the plant, including the cells in the underground roots. The plant cells do not always use the sugar immediately. The plant will store some of the sugar to use at night. For long-term storage, plants join many sugars to form a chemical called starch. So how do plants make it at night when it's dark? Well, they store stuff for later. That kind of makes sense, right? Because you eat at supper time and you may not eat again until the morning at breakfast, and your body survives just fine. You store food for later. So we're a lot like plants somehow. That's weird. Anyway, and the next paragraph, it says, plants are not the only organism that get energy from sugar and starch. You do too. Whenever you eat foods from plants, you eat the plant's sugars and starches. Potatoes and grains are parts of plants that are made up of mostly stored starches. Your cells use these as sources of energy. Sugar is not just a source of energy. Thousands of sugars combine in plants to form cellulose. This chemical makes up the strong cell walls of plants. So you need the sugar from plants to survive too. So ultimately, we all need the sun because the sun helps plants live, and we need plants to live. So even if we are not big vegetable eaters, the meat that we eat eats plants either way. So it all comes back to plants and sunlight. Okay, the next page is just kind of a diagram, and I'm not going to show you all of it. But what you need to remember for photosynthesis is what happens at the top here. Sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide go together during photosynthesis and create sugar and oxygen. And those three things are the things plants need for photosynthesis, and those two things are created. Something to prove that plants make oxygen that while they're in photosynthesis is this picture at the top right-hand corner. Is kind of cool. If you were to put a plant down in water, eventually bubbles of oxygen would come off of the leaves while they're photosynthesizing, if you will. So that's kind of cool to see that proof. And we might be able to see something like that later on in our unit. Okay, so after we've done the reading, the next thing you're going to do is it tells you name the function or job of each part of the leaf. Use page 95 to complete the table. So go back to 95, look at the parts of the plant. Tell me what is the job of each of these parts. You can look in the reading for that on page 95. The second thing you have to do is use page 96, which is the second to last page I just showed you. You've got 3 questions. 1, what's the purpose of photosynthesis? What's important about it? Why are we doing photosynthesis? Second, how does photosynthesis in plants benefit animals? So how do animals like humans get benefit from photosynthesis? And the last one, what 3 things do plants need for photosynthesis? So those are the questions you need to answer for your assignment today. If you have any questions, please make sure you let me know via email. If we need to do Google Meet, we can. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye.